Experts note that even minor downturns can devastate local economies. America is in crisis. The data is undeniable. Economic collapse is unfolding in real time. Local businesses struggle to fill vacancies amid a dwindling workforce. Only 28 workers serve every 100 job openings. The island's prosperity now competes with precarious futures and unpredictable tourism trends. Today, we break down the top 10 fastest collapsing states in America. Local communities face uncertainty as tourism revenues decline. In a matter of moments, expert analysis and real-time figures reveal hidden truths behind familiar names. In Hawaii, the sun-drenched beaches hide an economic vulnerability that few dare mention publicly. Our journey begins with stark statistics, raw data, and insight that challenges conventional optimism. The state's heavy reliance on tourism leaves it vulnerable to sudden shocks. Can our nation afford to ignore this unfolding collapse? We will count down the states where economic instability, political strife, and social decline have converged. Each state tells a story of systemic challenges and urgent warnings from experts on the ground. At number 10, we start with New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, a severe labor shortage cripples progress. This glaring imbalance disrupts productivity and innovation. Hawaii's economy hangs on a delicate thread. When global travel slows, the ripple effects are immediate and severe. The cascading effects of a diminished travel industry hard-hit communities, exposing the fragility behind Paradise's facade. Moving to number 9, we focus on Hawaii. Experts argue that the shortage is both symptomatic and catalytic. Citizens watch in quiet despair as economic growth grinds to a halt. Public officials are torn between hope and harsh economic realities. The numbers reveal a state flirting with crisis, and the tension is palpable. Illinois now stands at a crossroads. Increasing trade wars and shifting global markets intensify the pressure. A shortage of workers translates directly into lost opportunities, a signal of systemic strain. At number 8, Illinois takes center stage. New Mexico's fortunes are entwined with federal dollars. Illinois battles an enormous fiscal burden. With over $140 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, the state confronts looming insolvency. This staggering sum undermines investor confidence and strains public services. The reliance on external support leaves little room for local innovation or independent growth. Local governments struggle to meet commitments met with rising demands. At number 6, we see Rhode Island struggling under a different burden. The state's future, dependent on uncertain federal decisions, now teeters on the edge of fiscal instability. For many in Illinois, each passing day brings deeper financial uncertainty. The pension crisis is a symptom of broader economic mismanagement and unresolved political conflicts. Haunted by fiscal ghosts of the past and the burden of a collapsing future. Number 7 brings us to New Mexico. Approximately 43% of the state's spending relies on federal funds. A vibrant economy depends on new enterprises and creative industries. This dependence creates a perilous vulnerability. Any reduction in federal contributions sends shockwaves through the state's budget. Critics assert that New Mexico's economy is built on shaky ground. As federal budget cuts loom on the horizon, anxiety mounts among policymakers and taxpayers alike. Although Rhode Island experienced a modest growth of 3.2% in 2024, it ranked a mere 47th in new business formations. This ranking signals a troubling lack of innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. Yet Rhode Island finds itself in a paradox of growth on paper versus a stagnating real-world business environment. The disconnect raises tough questions about long-term competitiveness and regional viability. The data underscores an unsettling trend. Economic numbers may appear positive, but underlying dynamics spell trouble for the state's future. Number 5 casts a spotlight on Kansas. Kansas experienced a sluggish 1% GDP growth in 2024. As the backbone of America's agricultural heartland, Kansas now battles a crisis of both credit and declining crop values. Farmers face tight credit conditions, and plummeting land values erode traditional financial stability. The agricultural sector, once a robust engine of prosperity, now falters under modern pressures. Economic indicators point to a deepening malaise within its rural expanses. Local communities are feeling the pinch as economic promise gives way to harsh realities. Kansas stands as a grim testament to the vulnerabilities of a once thriving agricultural economy. At number 4, we turn to Alaska. Alaska's fortunes have long been tied to the volatile world of oil production. The state's economic outlook grows ever more precarious as Alaska North Slope crude prices plunge. Declining oil revenues send shockwaves through state budgets and community finances. Once reliant on robust oil cash flows, Alaskan policymakers now wrestle with uncertainty. The state's narrative is a cautionary tale of dependence on a single sector. As oil prices falter, Alaska grapples with fiscal shortfalls and an uncertain economic horizon. The dependency on a volatile industry paints a stark picture of vulnerability and risk. Number 3 brings us to Louisiana. Louisiana's economic structure centers dangerously around federal support. Roughly 50% of state spending is funded by the federal government. This creates a double-edged sword. While federal money has sustained essential services, it also leaves the state vulnerable to budgetary shifts at the national level. Louisiana faces seismic shifts as federal priorities change. The heavy reliance on external funding exposes critical public services and infrastructure to uncertain future cuts. Local communities await clarity amidst a fiscal fog that threatens to deepen systemic challenges. In Louisiana, the balance of power has shifted from local enterprise to federal dependency, leaving the state exposed. At number 2, North Dakota enters the fray. In 2024, North Dakota's economy contracted by 0.7%. Though the percentage may seem modest, the contraction is a harbinger of broader challenges. The state, heavily reliant on oil production, finds itself at the mercy of global crude prices. As oil prices decline, the economic engine stalls. In North Dakota, workers, communities, and investors confront an uncertain future. The state's slowdown reflects the broader impact of shifting energy markets and volatile global trends. Expert voices warn of a potential cascading effect unless decisive action is taken. The signs are unmistakable. A state once buoyed by robust oil revenues now faces an accelerating decline. Finally, at number 1, we reach the heart of the crisis: Iowa and Nebraska. In the first quarter of 2025, both states suffered historic GDP declines of 6.1%. Their downturns stem primarily from collapsing sectors such as agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. These devastation rates are the steepest on record, leaving widespread economic shockwaves in their wake. Iowa and Nebraska, once pillars of rural prosperity and stability, now confront profound financial and social challenges. The cascading failures in these states are symptomatic of larger systemic issues. Their steep declines represent the apex of America's current state collapse narrative. Expert analysts warn that the struggle is not isolated, but emblematic of an America under stress. Throughout this countdown, one theme remains clear: the economic and political strains affecting these states foreshadow a broader national dilemma. Each state's narrative is unique, yet common threads tie them together. Deep-seated vulnerabilities, misguided policies, and overdependence on a few critical sectors abound. The numbers are real. The data is uncompromising. These states, New Hampshire, Hawaii, Illinois, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Kansas, Alaska, Louisiana, North Dakota, and the twin crisis in Iowa and Nebraska, are flagging warning signs for the entire nation. Experts urge us not to view these trends as isolated incidents. Instead, they call for a comprehensive reassessment of how we build and sustain state economies. The rapid collapses we see today demand urgent reforms, fiscal responsibility, and innovative approaches to local challenges. They remind us that the health of a state is intertwined with the stability of its political environment, the strength of its industries, and the resilience of its communities. As data pours in and each statistic paints a more detailed portrait of decline, we must ask ourselves, what is driving this deep-seated erosion? And more importantly, how do we reverse the trend before it engulfs the entire nation? Economic instability, political challenges, and social decline are not abstract ideas. They are tangible realities affecting millions. The countdown is more than a list, it is a call to address critical issues head-on. The urgency is a rallying cry for informed public discussion and decisive action. As we witness these rapid declines, the future of our communities, our jobs, and our prosperity hangs in the balance. The evidence is laid out in stark figures and unyielding data, and the implications are profound. In conclusion, our journey through the top 10 fastest collapsing states paints a sobering picture. From New Hampshire's crippling labor shortage to the intertwined crises of Iowa and Nebraska, no state is immune to the forces driving economic decline. Each analysis reveals a state fighting for stability amid overwhelming odds. The challenge now is not only understanding these trends, but also mobilizing collective action to safeguard our nation's future. Stay informed. Join the conversation.